What is going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris Allen here to talk to you about a couple of overvalued wide receivers that you might be taking a look at in best ball drafts this offseason. Now, it's before the draft. We don't know everything about how their offensive situations are going to look like come September. But for right now, looking at how things are shaking out, what information we can take from last season, if you have the opportunity to. I've got a couple of guys that are overvalued with some possible options for you to take a look at that might be drafted, half a round later, maybe even full round later, that can provide similar output but at a lesser opportunity cost. And the first guy that I want to get into is Terry McLaurin. Now, I'm not going to come in and say this is Terry McLaurin's fault, and I think most of you guys can realize that. It's not that he's lost a step or anything like that, and if anything, he's continued to do exactly what we expect of him from a wide receiver, from a young wide receiver that's continuing to grow in this league. Because looking at it by the numbers, Terry McLaurin has continued to ascend from a volumetric standpoint. Every year, you can see the gray line there towards the middle. His overall volume within the offense has continued to tick up, 22, 24, 25, 26% target share that he ended up with just this past season. And it's also from a slot rate perspective, held at a 33, 34% target share from the slot. And his deep ball rate actually picked up from the 2020 season to 2021. So he's being used more like an alpha within his own offense, which is all great. And according to Matt Harmon over at Reception Perception, just using his 19 and 20 success rate data, no drop off there. If anything, he continued to improve in certain aspects of his game. But we all know what the problem with Terry McLaurin is. We all know what Washington's offense, or the problem with Washington's offense has been, and it's been poor quarterback play. Ever since Terry McLaurin was drafted into the league with his former teammate at Ohio State, Dwayne Haskins, it doesn't matter who's been under center, whether it's been Haskins, whether it's been Case Keenum, Colt McCoy, Alex Smith when he was named Comeback Player of the Year, Taylor Heineke just this past year. Every single one of those quarterbacks from an EPA per play or efficiency standpoint have been below the league average for that season. The only one that he was capable of playing with that was above the NFL average was Keenan Allen in 2020, and we see how that worked out for him. So, Washington Commanders, they've picked up Carson Wentz this season. We all know what happened with Carson Wentz in Indianapolis. So hopefully there would be some sort of analytical way for us to be at least a bit more excited about what Terry McLaurin could be, like in 2022. Oops. Carson Wentz hasn't been all that much better from an efficiency standpoint. And again, pointing back to just this past season, after his own former head coach basically didn't have the heart to keep him on for another season. Jim Irsay from the Colts is more or less saying it was a mistake for them to trade for him. It makes it more volatile for Terry McLaurin here in 2022, and him being drafted at the wide receiver 18-ish draft slot, it becomes harder for us to at least get on board with him being able to return those prices. And if anything, he's yet to do so. In each of the seasons so far, he was drafted at the wide receiver 19 in 2020, finished as the wide receiver 20. Last year, drafted as the wide receiver 11, finished as the wide receiver 25. He's yet to meet his ADP. Let's say wide receiver 19, wide receiver 20, close enough. But if I can find guys like Mike Williams, who's being drafted later, Jerry Jeudy, who's also being drafted later, at least from their offensive situations, they do offer a bit more upside and also with better quarterback play, such that they could at least have a path to returning their prices over Terry McLaurin, which could be better options for you later on in the draft. Another guy that I wanted to talk about is Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen has been one of those steady Eddie. You draft him in the second, third-ish round. We know what his role is within the Chargers offense, or at least we think we know what his role is going to be. Manning the slot, continuing to be a larger part of their red zone offense throughout the years. And that has been the case for the past 4 or 5 seasons. But from an efficiency standpoint, again, by the numbers, Keenan Allen's yards per route run, an efficiency metric that's tracked over at PFF, has been on the decline for the past 5 years. So this is after, the kidney laceration, the ACL injuries, any of those, the injury prone label that he got incorrectly. But since then, they've been on the decline. Now, his targets per route run, which is an opportunity metric because it figures out, all right, if you're running so many routes and earning these many targets, all right, that should be a good metric to have or at least a high metric to have for most wide receivers. That's been slowly on decline. The one good thing that he's been able to keep in front of him has been a large amount of red zone targets within the offense. He's been first in red zone targets over the past 5 years amongst any pass catcher within the Chargers offense, which is great for him. But now think about what the Chargers offense has evolved to over the past 5 seasons. Back in 2017, when it was Phillip Rivers throwing the rock, it was him, Hunter Henry, Antonio Gates, Melvin Gordon, with maybe guys like Travis Benjamin, who was a part of the team at the time, having about 4 or 5 red zone targets. But think about the guys that are part of the offense now. It's Keenan Allen, it's Mike Williams, who's a large part of the offense, Austin Eckler, Jared Cook, who's now gone, Josh Palmer, Jalen Guyton, Justin Jackson, Donald Parham. I mean, the pie is now much smaller with so many more, I hate to use the cliche, mouths to feed within that offense. So if that's now a large part of his game that's being taken from other people, it's difficult for him to return wide receiver 14 prices, which is his current ADP. Now, it might be tough to swallow, but maybe guys like Deontay Johnson, DK Metcalf, possible options for you to take that would at least come with lesser opportunity cost, or maybe pivot and look at other positions entirely. But with that, that's all I got for this week. Enjoy your time. I mean, definitely take a look, subscribe, take a look at all the other videos we've got here at Football Guys here on our YouTube channel, and I'll catch y'all next week. Peace.